Today 24th today 24th April 2020, unit 3 building components, revision class for the unit 3 building components. In this we are going to be discussing about the lintels, arches and foundation. So unit 3 will be having that the two components will be there. One is building components, another topic is going to be called as building services. In building components, we are going to be discussing about the lintels, arches, foundations, doors, windows, staircases, types of the floors, types of the floors, types of the floors, and damp-proof floors. This is the complete topics we are going to be covering into the building components. But today's class we are going to be discussing about the what is the lintel and what are the different types of the lintels and what are the objectives of the lintels, why we have to provide the lintels. Similarly, so what is meant by the arch, where we are going to be using the arches. Then we are going for the foundation. In the foundation, so what are the objectives of the foundation and what are the different types of the foundations that we are going to be using for the various constructions. So then first we are going for the lintel. Lintel is going to be called as a semi component in the building construction, or we are going to be called as it is looking like a beam. Lintel we are going to be provided as a looking like a beam. This is we are going to be provided, or we are going to be designed over the door, window, or the openings. We are going to be provided a beam like a structure. Beam like a structure we are going to be called as a lintel. So depending upon that, the load conditions is going to be distributed or taken care by the lintel. So we can go for the different types of the lintels. That is depending upon the loading conditions that we had to be shared by the lintel beam. So based on that one, we are going for the various types of the lintels. So now the So lintel is a beam like horizontal structural flexural member used to span over the opening of doors, windows, all the openings. We can say that this is the standard definition for the lintel cupboards. Lintel base just like a beam. It provides for bearing for the masonry above the openings and transfers all the loads acting over the opening to the supporting walls. So the main function of the lintel is that one. So over the lintel we are having the column, and then there is the brick masonry will be there. Then above that we are going to provide the beam. Above that we are going to provide as a slab. So this is we can able to see that the structural components we are going to be designing from the slab. Either it is going to be called as roof slab or the floor slab. From the slab, the load is going to be transmitted to the beam. From the beam, it is going to become to the wall. From the wall, that is the masonry work through the lintel beam. So then it is going for the supporting walls, and then it is going to be finally it is going for the foundations. So that's for that purpose we are going to be provided, or we are going to be designing that the lintels. So then the classification of the lintels based upon the material of the construction, based on the material, which material we are going to be using. Based on that one, we are going to be classify the lintels. That is, we can able to see that the abundance or the availability of the materials. Timber lintels or wooden lintels, stone lintels, brick lintels, reinforced brick lintels, steel lintels, and RCC lintels. So now almost all in the building constructions we are going for that the RCC lintels, reinforced cement concrete lintels, or we are going for the cement concrete lintels, reinforced brickwork lintels. So the majority cases we are going to be using, because it is going to be taken care of the load and as well as the strong and as well as the durable. The remaining that is going to be depending upon the availability. If the timber or the wood is going to be available in abundant, so then we are going to be using the timber lintel, or this is we are going to call it very light. So the structure is going to be very light, then we have to be preferably we are going to be using the timber or the wood lintels. And also other factor we have to be considered is that it is the cheap, or it is going to be available in abundance. We can go for the timber. Then the stone lintel is going to be called the heavy lintel, and this is also we can able to see that. So the costlier when compared to the reinforced the reinforced cement concrete lintel. So because the here also you can able to see that the availability of the material, and we had to go for the dressing of the stone, and then we had to be use it into the lintel. So that's why the stone lintel also nowadays we are not going to be using so heavy, as well as it is going to be costlier. So then the brick lintel is also is going to be called as the brick we are going to be using, but it is going to be very light structures. Reinforced brickwork lintels, steel lintels, and RCC lintels are that we can go for heavy constructions, or we can go for So the multi-story buildings or multi-story apartments or high-rise buildings, we are going to be using that steel or the RCC lintels. So this is about that the brief review of the what are the classification of the lintels. Now we can able to see that the timber or the wooden lintels. So actually this is timber or wooden lintel is in olden days when the technology was not much advanced. Timber lintels are very common in use, but nowadays availability of the timber has become difficult and costly. That is, so we are not able to get the we are not able to get the timber or the wood very easily. So that's why we are going to be avoiding that the timber, or we have, yeah, if you want to go for the timber or wood, the deforestation has to be done. So to secure or to safeguard the forest, so we are not going to be using the timber or wooden lintels. Secondly, it is very easily affected by white ants and other insects, and as such these lintels are not in common use nowadays, because timber or the wood is going to be having the, we can is going to be affected by the due to the, it is exposed to the temperature, it is atmospheric agencies. So then the insects is going to be developed in the timber. If you are not properly seasoned, then it is going to be weaken that the structural element, weaken that the lintel itself. That's why, so we are going to be avoiding the timber or wooden lintels. Then the stone lintels. Stone lintels are very common used in regions where the stone is easily available. Always the first priority is that one, availability of the material. So construction point of view, always we have to be see that if we are going to be transported from long distances, so then it is going to be the costlier. If it is going to be available at the site itself where we are going for the construction, so then automatically it will be reflecting onto the cost of the construction. So that's why, so easily available, then we can able to use the stone lintel. They may be used in the form of single piece or more than one piece. Stone lintels are very weak in tension, thus cannot be used for large spans. So what the disadvantage is the weak in tension. That's why we cannot go for the large spans. Only you can use for the small spans. Then the brick lintels. Brick lintels are made by using first class bricks, either laid on end or on edge. Either end or edge we are going to be using. They are suitable for small spans not exceeding 90 centimeters. Then the reinforced brick lintel. When the brick lintels have to be used over large spans, they are reinforced with a steel bars. This is known as the reinforced brickwork lintel. When compared to the brick lintel, brick alone we are going to be using on edge or on end. We are going to be using for this only for small spans, because it is brick will be having that less compressive strength than your stone or than your reinforced brickwork lintel. So that's why we are going to be using for the small spans. Then the steel lintels. Steel lintels may be made from single made from angle irons or the rolled steel joints. So angle irons are used for small spans and light loads, where the rolled steel joints are used for heavy loads and large spans. So this is almost all we are going for the steel constructions. Instead of we are going for the RCC constructions, reinforcement concrete constructions, always we are going to be using stone or the brick, or it is going to be called as reinforced brick lintel. But if you are going to be exclusive for steel constructions, steel structures, or the roof, or we are going for the industrial buildings with the steel material, in that cases preferably we are going to be using with the steel lintels. Instead of we are going for the reinforced cement concrete, we are going for the steel lintels. It is having that the we can able to get the better orientation. Then the last one is going to becomes as the RCC lintels. This is the lintel which has practically replaced all other types of the lintels. This lintel is durable, strong, corrosion resistant and fire resistant. It is economical than all other lintels and easy to construct. Almost all the constructions, civil engineering constructions, is replaced by the reinforced cement concrete lintels. Whatever we are going to be using earlier in wooden or the timber or the stone or the brick lintel, completely is going to be replaced by reinforced cement concrete lintel, because of strength point of view, because of durable point of view, and because of fire resistant. These are all these are all the properties we have to be taken into the consideration. So then, so we are going to be designing that the RCC lintels. So then the pictures is going to be showing that how the cement concrete lintel or the wood or the timber lintel. First top diagram is going to be explaining about that the so cement concrete or the reinforced cement concrete lintel, and second figure is going to be showing that the wood or the timber lintel. Then the arches. So arches also we are going to be providing for the openings like a lintel. How the same function as the lintel. but the structure or the structural composition or we are going to shape will be different when compared to that the lintel. So lintel is almost all geometric shapes we are going to be provided. Arch, it is going to be called a semicircular one. Arch is going to be called a semicircular one. Like lintel, arch is also a measure of covering or bridging over the openings of doors, windows, etc. left in the masonry walls. Only thing is geometrically the shape will be different than your lintels. Arches is somewhat difficult to construct because of uh, various components will be there in the arches. So and also it is going to be giving as the architectural beauty for the openings. If you are going to provide the arches instead of your lintels, it is costlier, and also so good workmanship will be required. Then we will be having that the various elements to be provided for the designing of the arches. Then the next topic is the foundations. Foundations is the most important for any type of constructions. Any type of the construction, foundation is the playing a vital role. And the for the foundations, first of all, we had to make sure that we had to be identify or we had to be tested that the soil conditions at the site where we are going to be constructing any building or any type of the construction. We require that first we have to assess that the properties of the soil. Based on that one, the foundation is going to be designed. So the first initial property we had to be selected, our initial property we had to be verified at the check is going to be called as bearing capacity of the soil. The bearing capacity of the soil will be very high, then the foundations is going to be designed based on that one, whether we have to go for the type of the foundation. If the bearing capacity of the soil will be less, then we had to go for adding the admixtures, and we had to go for the foundations. We had to be designing of the foundations, or otherwise we are going to be replacing with the weak soil with the strong soil. We are replacing with the weaker soil with the strong soil. So that is the two cases will be there. First case is that one, replacing that the loose soil or the weak soil with the strong soil, or otherwise we had to go for the adding of the admixtures to the same existing soil, and we are going to be improving the properties of the soil, means bearing capacity of the soil. Admixtures is that various admixtures are available. So with the admixtures, we can able to improve the bearing capacity of the soil. So you want to understand the foundation. Yeah, the foundation will be having that the two component, two parts are there. One is substructure, and another one is going to be called a superstructure. So substructure always we are going to be called as the foundation. Superstructure is once the foundation is going to be completed, so then we have to go for the superstructure that is going to be laid over the foundation. So below the ground level, so whatever we are going for providing the construction, we are going to be called as substructure. Above the ground level, whatever the structural elements are there, we are going to be called as superstructure. The substructure, say the structural elements we are going to provide is going to be called as the foundations. And in the superstructure, the structural elements we are going to be provided are we are going to be designed is going to be called as column, beam, and slab, and various openings. We are going to be various openings is going to be covered doors, windows, lintels, arches, different types of the floors we are going to be provided. So this is about that the substructure. What is meant by the substructure? What is meant by the superstructure? The substructure transmits the load of superstructure to the underlying soils and is termed as foundation. The foundation term includes both the portions below the ground level and the artificial arrangement, such as concrete block, piles, rafts, etc., upon which the structure stands. Then why the foundation will be necessary? That is one of the objectives of the foundation. What is the importance of the foundation? So the first is to distribute the load of the structure on large area so that intensity of load does not exceed the safe bearing capacity of the underlying soil. First, it is going to be called as it is going to be the load distribution from superstructure to the substructure. Means from the, so this is the skeleton of the structure will be having that the structural elements will be there topmost. We are going to be called as roof slab. Then it is going to be we are going to be come to that the beam level. Then it is going to be called as column. From the column it is going for the foundation. So this is we can able to see that the stage by stage how the load is going to be transmitted, how the load is going to be distributed to the foundation. So that's why we have to be know about that. So what is the type of the structure we are going to be build, whether it is going to be type of the structure is going to be called as residential building, or it is going to be called as commercial building, or it is going to be called as industrial building. based on that the function or based on the type of the structure. So we had to be go for the foundations also is going to be vary. Our foundations also is going to be designed in different way, in the different way. So that is the first one is the load distribution, and the bearing capacity of the soil is sufficient enough to take care of the loads, to distribute the load on underlying soil evenly, and just to prevent unequal settlement of the foundation. If you not design the foundation properly, so then so it is going to be reflecting onto that the settlement of the structure after few years, after few years, or after few months, after few days. So if you are not properly design the foundation, it is not going to be stable enough to taken care of the loads. So then it is going to be reflecting onto that the settlement of the foundation, to provide a leveled and a hard surface for the superstructure to build over it. So these are, we can say that the some of the important objectives why the foundation we had been designed, or why the foundation is going to be provided for the construction. Then the foundations will be having that the two classifications. So one is deep, one is going to be called as deep, and the other one is going to be called as shallow foundation. Other shallow foundations and deep foundations. Foundations is going to be classified into shallow foundation and deep foundation. So when we can say that the shallow foundation, and when we can say that the deep foundation, this is based upon that the criteria is that depth and width of the foundation. If the depth of the foundation is equal to or less than the width of the foundation, then we are going to be called as a shallow foundation. Shallow means the term itself is going to be giving meaning with the low depth, and deep means the term itself is going to be giving meaning that we are going for the maximum depth, or we are going for deep depth, we are going for that one. So if the depth of the foundation is greater than the its width, it is going to be termed as deep foundation. This is the simplest definition that we are going to be defining that what is meant by shallow and what is meant by the deep foundation. Shallow foundation, always we are going for that if the soil will be having that strong bearing capacity of the soil is going to be very good, very high, then we are going for the shallow foundation. Or in other direction, we can say that it is a simple building we are going to be constructed, then there is no need to go for the deeper depths. The shallow foundation is going to be sufficient enough for simple constructions. Preferably we are going to be using the shallow foundation. Then the other one is going to be called as deep foundation. So deep foundation is that one whether we are having that the bearing capacity of the soil will be very weak. In that cases, we have to go for the deeper depths. That is one case. And second case is that one, if it is we are going for heavy structures, heavy construction, also we are going for the deep foundation. Make sure that your foundation has to be stronger to taken care of all the loads, either it is going to be dead load, live load, or the wind load. So to taken care of all that one, to stable enough for the given loading conditions. So that is the shallow and deep foundations. Then what are the different type of the shallow foundations? So the spread footings, grillage foundations, eccentrically loaded footings, combined footings, mat or raft foundation. Spread footing. Spread footing is the very simple footing, isolated footing. We are going to call a spread footing. So that is the stepwise. Bottom one is going to be the width of the foundation will be more. Then one more step we are going to provide it. We are going to keep on decreasing the width, and then we are going to be laying further the walls, and then the construction is going to be completed, is going to be called a spread. It is going to be spreading like a step, and that we are going to call a spread footing. This is you are going to be using for simple constructions. In olden days, almost all we are going to be using the construction of a building is going to be using by the spread footing foundation, spread footing. So we can able to see that the in the pictures we can able to see that the how the spread footing foundation we are going to be provided. Concrete base we are going to be provided over that. So the masonry work provided with the brick brick we are going to provide it. Then above that we are going for the column. So the step proof footing, slope proof footing, and single footing we are going to be provided. So completely we are having that the strong base we are going to provide with the cement concrete. Then over that we are going to provide completely with the brick work, and then we are going for the column, so that we are going to call a spread footing. For this is for the simple or the light structures, we are going to be using the spread footing. So this is also we can able to see that the one of the examples for the spread footing foundation. Then the grillless footing. Grillless foundations that we are going to be using for steel constructions. We are going for the industrial buildings. We are going to be expected to that the heavy machinery is to be placed on the floor. So then in that circumstances we have to be go for the foundation is going to be called grillless footing. So the normal footing, that is a spread footing or other type of the footing, is not sufficient enough or suitable to taken care of the heavy machinery. Then we are going for the grillless footing. This will be having the completely the steel members we are going to be using, steel beams we are going to be using as the grillless, column and iron plate. Entire components will be having with the steel components. No concrete elements we are going to be provided. Entirely we are going to be using that the steel elements we are going to be provided. So then the combined footing. So the diagram is going to be showing that the rectangular combined footing and trapezoidal combined footing, because the two columns together we are going to provide one footing. So that is the term itself is going to be giving you as meaning. So first one is going to be called a single, that is going to be called the isolated one. But here, so the how many number of the columns we are going to provide for entire columns we are going to provide. So one footing, one footing, so that is we are going to call a combined. So the two columns we are going to be in plan, we can able to see that one. So the here we can able to see that the column and the column, and entirely we are going to provide with that the one footing itself. Either in the trapezoid also same thing. The section we can able to see that one. So this is we are going to be seeing that the bottommost part we are going to be seeing that is going to call a foundation, and this called substructure, and above that we can able to see that the superstructure. Then the mat or raft foundation. So because here we can able to see that previous one is going to be called as two columns together we are going to provide the one base, and here almost entire building we are going to provide one base we are going to be provided, that is going to be called as raft. Raft means like it is going to be called as we are going to be, so the entire width we are going to be provided almost we can able to see that one, two, three, four. In the diagram we can able to see that elevation we can able to see that one. So the number of throughout the building number of columns we are going to see, and base we are going to provide with the cement concrete. So in plan view also we can able to see that one. These are the, we can say that the rectangular one is going to be giving that the columns, and sorry, we can, although you can say the square one is going to be called as the your column size, and the entire rectangular form we are going to be giving you as the footing. Means raft is going to be called as it is going to be covering entire building with the so many number of columns. Previous case we were less number of columns, we are going for the combined footing. We have the combined footing is going to be called as two or three or the four columns we are going to, together we are going to provide with the column footing, and here it is going to be called as maximum, like a mat. We are going to spreading a mat, how much space it is going to be occupied. So that much space we are going to providing with the footing is going to be called as mat or raft foundation. So this is also the another diagram is going to be explaining you about that the columns, before that below that bottommost component part. So we are going to be called as for mat or raft slab we are going to provided. Above that main beam and the column we are going to provide. So this is the plan view, and he can able to see that the sectional view, sectional elevation we can able to see that one. Then this is another picture is going to be explaining about that what the, so the mat or raft foundation. Completely we are going to be provided with this, the mat in the form of a slab. Earlier cases we can say the single or isolated footing, or we are going to be combined footing. So only for a particular area or certain area only we are going to be providing that the reinforced cement concrete. But here we are going for entire area covering looking like a slab. We are going to be providing the slab in the roof or level, roof level or the floor level, but here in the foundation level itself we are going to provide the slab, that we are going to call as mat or the raft foundation. Then this is also the another picture is going to be, another diagram is going to be explaining you about the raft footing or the raft foundations. Then the another type of the foundations is going to be called as deep foundation. Till now whatever we discussed is going to be called as the shallow foundations. So comes under the single footing, single or isolated footing, combined footing, mat or raft footing, mat or raft footing. So the isolated shallow foundation is spread footing, grillless footings, eccentrically loaded footings, combined footings, and mat or rough foundations. And other is going to be called as the deep foundations. Deep foundations, we can able to see that the soil conditions based on the soil conditions is very weak. Poor soil conditions are there, or we can say that the water laying areas. So then the bearing capacity of the soil is very weak. In that cases, we had to go for the pile foundations. Deep foundations we are going to be called as a pile foundations. We are going to be derived, or otherwise we had to go for completely removing the soil, and we had to be replaced with uh, the strength bearing capacity of the soil, high strength bearing capacity of the soil, or we can say that the strong soil we are going to be replaced with the weak soil, and then the construction is going to be taken place. So that is one direction. Now other, we are for the same existing soil conditions, we are going for the pile foundations for deeper depths. Pile is going to be driven, and then over that the pile as going to be acting as a foundation. Over that the construction is going to be completed. So this is about the deep foundations where we are going to be using. So completely it is going to be called as waterlogged areas, or where the soil conditions is going to be very weak. In that circumstances we have to go for the deep foundation. Then the another component, building components, is going to be call it as doors and windows. Doors and windows, once the masonry work is going to be completed, wherever the openings will be there, all the openings we are going to be covering with the doors, windows, and as well as the ventilators. This is also comes under the building components. First one already we saw that lintels, arches, foundations. Now another building components we are going to be using in the superstructure is doors and windows. Lintels also in the superstructure we are going to provided. Substructure will be having the foundation. So the doors and windows, what are the different types of the doors? Why the doors is going to be designed? What are the function of the doors, and what are the function of the windows? Now door, the main purpose is that access to the various rooms, different types of the rooms we are going to provide is going to be called as door. The function of door is to give access to building and to different parts of the building, and to deny the access whenever it is necessary. Number of doors should be minimum possible. The size of the door should be of such dimension as will facilitate the movement of the largest object likely to use the doors. That is the main important function. The size of the road should be such that dimension will facilitate movement of the largest object at any condition is to the object to facilitate the movement of the largest object likely to use the doors. Then what are the sizes of the roads for the residential building is 0.9 meters by 2 meters. It should not be less than 0.9 meters by 2 meters. The size recommended is almost all 0.75 meters by 1.9 meters. And minimum size of the doors we are going to use for the bathrooms and as well as the water closets. As a thumb rule, height of the door should be 1 meter more than its width. So this is about what are the standard dimensions that we are going to be using for the door is 0.9 meter by 2 meter, or the recommended size is 0.75 meters by 1.9 meters. Then the windows. Windows main purpose is going to be called ventilation and air circulation. Windows provided to give that light and ventilation. What the objective for the provision of the windows is that design the for the light and ventilation. They are located at a height of 0.75 meters to 0.9 meters from the floor level. From the floor level, it should be height will be 0.75 meters to 0.9 meters. In hot and humid regions, the window area should be 15 to 20% of the floor area. How much area we had to be utilized for the window is that 15 to 20% of the floor area. In humid areas or in hot climate areas, it is preferable to have at least two openings in two different walls. Another thumb rule is to determine the size of the window opening is for every 30 cubic meter inside volume there should be at least 1 square meter window is opening. That is every 30 cubic meter inside volume. Inside volume, we are going to, or we can say that the carpet area. For the carpet area of 30 cubic meters, 1 square meter window opening should be provided. Then what are the components of a door? They are having major components is going to be called door frame and door shutter. So this is we are going to be called as a door frame, and the shutter will be having that completely panel. Panel we are going to be called as a shutter. So we are having the head and the hold first is the main thing we are going to be using for the door frame. Now door shutter, if you're coming to the door shutter, horizontal member is going to be called top rail and as well as the bottom rail. And this is completely this 1, 2, 3, 4 openings we are going to provide is going to be called as panels. Vertical member we are going to be called as a stale. Horizontal member is rail and vertical member is going to be called as stale. And that the how many number of openings we are going to provide is going to be called a panel. Panel is going to be called as like we are going to be giving as opening and the intermediate rails. So this is about the door shutter. And what are the different types of the doors? Commonly, we are going to be used for the various constructions. That is depending upon residential building or commercial building or industrial building or educational building, the number of doors and type of the door will be different. So now the almost all in the residential buildings, we are going to use it as the hinged doors. On the base of working operations, hinged doors, revolving door, sliding door, swing doors, collapsible doors, and rolling shutter doors. We can able to see that the collapsible doors almost all in the so the educational institutions are the big offices either entrance has to be more entrance has to be give a large entrance has to be given collapsible door. Rolling shutter almost all the shops we are going to be provided the rolling shutter door. Swing doors is going to be called as restricted areas. Swing doors we are going to require. Sliding doors also the same thing. Revolving doors for the aesthetical appearance we are going for the revolving doors we are going to be using. So the types of the doors based on the working operation is hinged doors, revolving doors, sliding doors, swing doors, collapsible doors, and rolling shutter. Then the hinged door is going to once again it is going to be classified into batten type, framed and panel type, glazed slash type, flush type, lower type, and wire gauge type. Now we can able to see that one by one. What is the hinged door? Where we can able to use revolving door, sliding door, swing door, collapsible door, and rolling shutter. Hinged doors. This is the very quite common type of the door we are going to be using for almost all the constructions. Most doors are hinged along one side to allow the door to pivot away from the doorway in one direction, but not in the other. The axis of rotation is usually vertical. The most common door type, it is simple and rigid, is the hinged door. The panel swings and opens, closes on hinges. Hinged doors require minimum amount of maintenance and cleaning. That is the advantage while we are going for hinged door. So this is we can able to see that the picture is going to be giving as diagram is going to be giving as batten and ledger door. In the hinged door, we can able to see that the hinge here and here the hinge we are going to provide here the hinge we are going to be provided, and we can able to see that the frame head and the frame is there, and the ledges we are going to call top ledge and bottom ledge and bottom ledge. So and battens is going to be called as vertical member, ledges is going to be called as horizontal members. Ledges is going to be horizontal members, battens is going to be vertical members. That's why we are going to be called as batten and ledge door. Then another type of the door is going to be called as batten ledge and braced door. When we are going to be comparing with the previous type of the door, here we are going to be called as cross elements we are going to provide, inclined or the cross elements we are going to provide is going to be called the braces. Braces is we are going to be called as cross elements. Vertical elements we are going to be called as battens. Horizontal elements we are going to be called as ledges. Ledges is the horizontal here and here, and battens is the vertical post or the vertical members. Braces is the inclined members. So these are almost we can able to see in the olden days almost all the buildings, residential buildings will be having that the batten ledge door and batten ledge and braced door. Framed and panel door we'll be having that the most of the cases nowadays we are going to be using general case is going to be called framed and panel we are going to openings we are going to provided. These type of doors are widely used in all types of the buildings since they are strong and give better appearance than batten doors. In batten doors a lot of workmanship will be required, But here very simple work is sufficient enough to go for the designing of the door. Panel doors consist of vertical members called stiles and horizontal members called rails. Stiles and rails form the framework in which the panels are inserted. And panels may be solid wood or the plywood or the particle board or lowered or having glass inserts. If you are going to be inserting the glass, then it is going to be called the glazed door, paneled glazed door. Now we can able to see that these are the, we can able to see that the paneled door. Framed and panel door, frame and panel door. So this is the framed door, frame completely one frame. Here the panels were going to be provided. This is also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 panel door. This is 4 panel, 1, 2, 3, 4 panel door. This is 6 panel, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 panel door. Glazed door. Already we discussed that glazed means glass. Glass we are going to be inserting into the panel, then we are going to call it glazed door. This type of is used in residential and public buildings, where we are going to be using in residential and public buildings for the looking pleasing appearance. They supplement the natural light providing by windows or to make the interior of the room visible from adjoining rooms. It is going to be glass we are going to provide it. We can able to see through that one. So from the outside to the inside, inside to the outside, they can be made fully glazed or partly glazed. Fully glazed doors are recommended where the sufficient light is required through the door openings, like in shopping malls and entrance house itself. So this is we can able to see that this picture is going to be giving, one is going to be called fully glazed door, another one is going to be called a partly glazed door. Bottom most is going to be called panels we are going to provided, and top the panels we are going to be inserting with the glass. Flush door. It is automatically closed door is going to be called as flush door. Flush doors are simply doors with a completely flat surface on both sides. Flush doors can come in solid format, which is a door made of solid wood, or hollow format, which is lightweight and comprised of two layers of thin timber separated usually by a lightweight honeycomb core. The core is covered with either hardboard or plywood on both sides. Solid flush doors are usually used as fire check doors. Flush doors are lighter and cheaper than other types. Automatically closing door, and completely it is going to be covered with the frame. That is, the wood is going to be covered, or the plywood we are going to be covering both the sides. Lowered door means it is going to be having the openings we are going to be provided. Lowered. A lowered door has fixed or mobile wooden lowers which permit open ventilation while preserving privacy and preventing that the passage of the light of the interior. These are mainly we are going to be using for the ventilator purposes. That is the bathrooms. They are most commonly used in bath and water closets. Bathrooms and water closets. In residential and public buildings where good ventilation is desired, then we are going to use it with the lower one. Openings lowers we are going to provide it. Lowers may be fixed or mobile, or lowers may be a timber, plywood, or the glass. So this is we can able to see is this diagram is going to be explaining about that the lower. So partly lowered and partly panel door. This is the panel one. Bottommost is the panel one. The topmost we can able to see that the lowers. So this is the elevation. We can able to see that one here also same thing. The picture is going to be giving that the bottommost is the panel. Topmost we can able to see that the lowest openings we can able to see through that the panel. Then the revolving doors. Revolving doors such a type of provided in public buildings like banks, museums, hotels, and offices. Where we will use the revolving door is the public buildings, in banks, museums, hotels, and offices, etc. It is revolving. So radiating shutters may be fully paneled and fully glazed or the partly glazed. And revolving door normally has 4 wings or leaves that hang on a center shaft and rotate one way about a vertical axis within a round enclosure. The central shaft is fitted with the ball bearing arrangement at the bottom, which allows the shutter to move without any jerk and making noise. So that is about how it is going to revolve it with the central shaft. So we can able the picture we can able to see that the revolving door. The diagram of the picture is going to be showing that the how the revolving door is going to works. Revolving doors are energy efficient but eliminating draw eliminating drafts. They are reducing the heating or cooling required for the building. Revolving doors typically have a speed control to prevent the people from spinning the doors too fast. Almost all this type of revolving doors we can able to use in the AC rooms also. We are fitting with that the revolving doors. Then the sliding doors. In these doors, the shutters slide horizontally along tracks with the help of runners and rails, often for space. Or sliding glass doors are common in places where there is no space to swing the door. So sliding doors we are going to be. The sliding doors we are going to be using for the purpose where there is a space is restricted. Sliding glass doors are common in places where there is no space to swing the door. So opening spaces are very narrow. In that circumstances, we have to go for the sliding door. That is the main objective. We are going for the sliding doors. So the picture is going to be giving us the sliding. That is going to be in the one direction. Sliding is going to be taking place in one direction. Then the collapsible door. So collapsible door almost are garages, workshops, and public buildings to provide increased safety to protection of the property. We are going to be using the collapsible door. So we can able to see that main entrances will come to provide a collapsible door by using the steel one. Then the rolling shutter. These are commonly used for shops, godowns, and stores. Rolling shutter. If the picture is going to be giving you that the diagram is going to be showing that the rolling shutter mainly we are going to be using for shops and godowns. Types of windows also same type how we are going to classify the doors. The same types is going to be coming in at the windows types of the windows also. So there's a sliding window as a slider. This is the casement windows, glazed window by using the glasses, lowered window openings we are going to be provided. Bay window, it is going to be projected outside of the wall. It is going to be projected also from the wall spaces. It is going to be projected to the outside. Outside of the building is we are going to call it bay window. So this is almost all it is going to be called as architectural point of view. We are going to provide it. Clustery window. So this is about the types of doors and types of the windows.